If you hear anything, if you get any updates from the city or fire rescue, we will check back again. Again, Eric Waxler, live in St. Pete, where the covering of the roof of Tropicana Field shredded and much of it gone due to 100-mile-an-hour winds. And let's go to Greg because, Greg, we've been looking at this wind for a few hours, and I know a lot of folks are saying, okay, when's it going to end?
Just thinking about that Tropicana Field situation, 275 is behind the stadium. So if you're getting an east-west wind, that material could be on 275. If not, it's in the Grand Central District, just on the other side of the interstate. 101-mile wind gust. It's interesting. I got a report from someone, and this is not confirmed, that there may have also been a crane that fell from the side of the construction site of the 400, the tallest tower there in downtown St. Pete. And this is all correlated with the strong winds. Again, Wade Field gusting to the airport there in downtown St. Pete. 101 miles per hour. That's the second highest gust we've seen reported, other than Sarasota, which was at the point of landfall when they gusted in the backside of the eye wall to 102. So this is what we talked about the last couple of days. We're going to be talking about a Good Morning Tampa Bay. It's going to be that northwest eye wall that is going to surprise. And boy, has it ever. This has really been an incredibly intense storm. And you really got to feel for the folks in St. Pete. I know we're focusing a lot on Pinellas County, but so we're seeing the wind damage now in Pinellas County. We're getting reports of water rescues from the emergency management there.
Very high winds.
Catastrophic flash flooding that is ongoing. Of course, it's hard to get reports and images. No one's out there. It's too dangerous to be out there. But the Weather Service, with this flash flood warning, is indicating that the threat here is at the highest level possible for a flash flood. That's how much rainfall has fallen. Radar estimates, and we can pull these up because these will update live as the radar starts adding up the rain. So you see there in Pinellas County, in St. Pete, radar estimating 14 inches of rain. To put that in perspective, in our rainy season, in our rainiest months, June, July, and August, we see about 6 to 7 inches each of those months. So we got 2 months of rain in our rainy season in 12 hours. That is just, even if the bay gets pulled away and the drainage off, it's just too much. Everything gets overwhelmed, and now we're having issues with flash flooding. And this is only going to persist because as you look at the radar here, I can pull up Milton's radar, let's go back to that right there, and you can see that this storm is still around. It is not moving very quickly, and the rain continues to fall. Now, the rain in Pinellas County is starting to lighten up. So we've gone from a really heavy rain over towards some light to moderate rain. It's still heavy over towards Hillsborough. It's still heavy in Pasco, Hernando County, ICU Ridge Meadow, PTO over towards Dade City. Heaviest rain in the area by far. Citrus Ridge to Polk City, that northern and north central parts of Polk County. This is going to be Winter Haven over toward
Very high winds.
If there is still, it's not an eye anymore, there's a low pressure center. It is located in southwestern portions of Polk County. So it's about to come up here on the Fort Meade area, and I believe that's US 98, which goes into 17. So that's 17 and 98 here share the same road, and 98 shoots off to the east. So it's coming up on 17 and 98 in Polk County, and all the heaviest weather is to the north. Look at this, we're getting lightning. This late in the game, this is supposed to be a weakening system, getting lightning just north of the eye. So that northern eye wall over Lakeland right now is still really dynamic. There's a lot of wind in here, a lot of heavy rain, these secondary, and now some of these main roadways. Usually tell you secondary neighborhood roads, those are the ones that flood first. You've got to be careful even on the main roads here. On 98, on 559, over towards 301, the Polk Parkway, 92, 542, all of these roads here in and around Lakeland could have water on them. You shouldn't be out there, but if you are out there for some reason, got an emergency, do not drive over any roadway that is flooded. These waters are going to rise quickly. It's hard to tell how much water is out there and how deep that is, and whether there is a surface for you to drive over underneath all that water surface. You've got to be really, really careful. I believe we have someone else that is live. Chad Mills is down in Sarasota. He has been seeing debris Chad, earlier you showed us some shingles that you came across. What do you got now?
Oh, Greg, we have more shingles. Found even more around this house, not at the level of the tarp coming off Tropicana Field, but this is what homeowners here, at least in the general vicinity where I am, are probably going to be dealing with tomorrow as the sun comes up and all of this passes. There are trees down in the area, shingles down in the area as well. It seems like everything where I am anyway fared pretty well, and then I passed over and it was calm, but then on that backside is when the wind really just felt more vicious here, blowing from the west and then the north. It is dying down right now. It's a strong gust every now and then, a little bit of one right now. But it seems that backside was just really vicious, and that's when I started seeing, kind of trash cans blowing down the street, other debris as well, and then that's when we started noticing more shingles. And, our vantage is very limited right now. It is pitch black behind me. We lost power hours ago at this point. So you can only imagine that when the sun comes up and we start walking around this general area, start surveying other parts of Sarasota as well, we're going to see more damage like that. A lot of trees down as well, one can only imagine, because when you're leaving downtown, before the eye approached and made landfall, we were already seeing sizable trees down, one near downtown, one on Honore Avenue, which is not too far from where we are, another on Fruitville Road as well. So potentially a good amount of cleanup here in Sarasota as we
Very high winds.
start to see
Crazy.
the effects of Milton kind of level off in terms of wind and rain. The big question mark is, and we are about 5 miles.
Shout out to everybody closer
How bad
near the
will that
shore.
surge be as it comes into Sarasota County? Greg.
Chad Mills down in Sarasota. Chad, thank you so much. You saw the debris there, the wind. Things will be improving there in Sarasota for sure. We're going to send it back into our other studio where we've got some more news for you.
Hey Greg, yes, it's muddy and windy now. We have moved into our other studio because our lights were shaking a little bit earlier.
A little bit. That just proves, the strength of the storm, even right across from Raymond James Stadium, which is where we are on Himes Avenue. So the storm continues to affect even us here in the
It
studio.
proves that everything that you're feeling at home, the nerves that you are feeling, we are also feeling and going through this with you, and we can't say it enough. We thank you for trusting us. We do have a couple of updates to get to. I want to start with that tip that you got in about TGA.
Yeah, so I got a tip that there might have been a couple floors flooded inside the hospital at Tampa General Hospital, and we did get a confirmation back from the hospital. Go ahead and read the
Yeah, so they
statement.
just sent out a statement. Now, this is TGH and Davis Island, famous from the aqua fence just from Helene 13 days ago. They say, like many businesses and homes in our region, Tampa General is experiencing some impacts as a result of Hurricane Milton. They're calling it minor leaks at the hospital's main campus on Davis Islands. The water detected is not expected. Given the severity of all the other weather that we're seeing in the region, we are actively working to respond and clear the areas impacted. The last line here, the leaks do not pose a threat to safety of patients or our team members. So we can confirm some kind of impacts at TGH on Davis Island.
Right, and we also just wanted to update on some power outages because we know so many folks are losing power or they've lost power, and then if they haven't lost power, the winds and what have you is still quite a concerning thing. So far right now, Chico has over 274,000 folks still without power, and 495,000 for Duke Energy, which, as we know, is a lot of Pinellas County.
Hope they get it
in that
soon,
area.
man. It's
I also
rough.
wanted to look at FPL just for a
Shit really no
moment.
joke,
And
man.
Sarasota County, I know, had cut a few because, as we know, Sarasota and Manatee.
People shouldn't be outside in this.
Yes. But I will get those to you because it looks like my computer is not loading.
It's all good. What we do know is 50,000.
Very high winds.
Tico, I got an email saying that this was
Possible
a very
flooding
large
in certain
summer,
areas.
And I think I heard linemen as far as Canada are here to help, and we always love to see all the help coming from all of us.
Electricity.
And we know that many of our help and our linemen are staying at
Dangerous
Field, which, as you saw,
electrocution
the roof, was ripped off by the
issues.
wind. We also want you to know that St. Petersburg has just shut off their water. So
Get electrocuted out there, man.
Having trouble, you're in St. Pete and the water's not turning on. Well, that's why. And obviously, it's because of the storm. Yeah, that's citywide happening. So you guys just be ready.
No
for that,
power, no water.
especially by midnight. All right.
Shit real, man.
Yes, we have Scripps News reporter Lillian Donahue. She is in Tampa on our ABC Action News parking garage across from Raymond James Stadium. What are you seeing, Lillian?
Well, we're tucked back in this parking garage, and I have been completely pelted with wind and rain. I mean, it's been 2 hours now of this, but I want to show you back here. You know, these lights out here have been flickering all evening, but what you're looking at is that completely horizontal rain right now, and this wind just has not let up. In fact, those gusts just keep coming stronger and stronger every single time. In fact, there is one happening right now. If you kind of go this way, you can see even on the lower end, all of those trees being pushed.
Jeez.
I know that
It's
this
Tampa.
area right here in between our parking garage,
It's more inland.
the main building has really become
This
a
is ABC. Shout out ABC, man.
and, you know, I've been looking over
Yeah,
there.
shout out ABC Action News. They be on it. Straight outside. Give it a raise.
I saw just a few minutes ago kind of fly this way. And actually, just as I was talking, there was another transformer, that kind of blue hue that we've been seeing. It kind of looks like lightning, but you can hear that electric noise that's going on. That's really what's been happening around this whole area over the past 2 hours.
Appreciate it.
And
Shout out Ella.
you'd see the wind, you'd see the gust, and right after that, you'd see something like that blue hue, the transformer going on.
Man, it could be worse. So we blessed in that concept.
These lights right here have stayed on.
Shout out everybody closer to the shore.
Their lights did
All day
multiple
in a
times.
safe
Not sure
location.
exactly what happened there, but it is back on. But when you just look up here right now, just the sheer force of the wind going through all of the lights here at the stadium, that's just giving you a sense of what this powerful storm can produce. And this is obviously
Nah, it's not a Cat 5 no more.
waves of wind just coming and coming. And so when those
About 2 to 3 right now.
down here, every once in a while, when we obviously call those wind gusts, those really
Might be about a 2
strong
right
winds
now.
that come in for 10, 15, 20 seconds. That's when we're seeing some of that debris come. But as I see debris coming through down on here, it's going right through. It's going right back onto Heinz and beyond. So it's not sticking around. The wind is just continuously coming and bringing things here. The only thing that I see down here right now is that branch that's been launched at the basement of our parking garage right now. But of course, kind of
That's very high winds.
a little obstructed when it comes to safety. We really want to make sure that we're not.
That's the main thing is the high winds.
See the wind, ground
It's
level,
about Cat 2, Cat 3 right now.
no one should
Lost power a couple times. More times than the last one.
Rescue crews ready to respond.
Power went out on one of these lives.
The thing is, we haven't seen a car in sight driving here for hours, and that just shows how.
Yeah, these people need more than 750. North Carolina, Georgia, 750 ain't gonna help these people, man. They lost so many valuables and so many home items. It's ridiculous. It never add up 750. Dressers, furniture, appliances, all ruined. Homes, cars, boats. Shout out Lieutenant Dan. I hope he's okay, man. Y'all heard about Lieutenant Dan? Look it up. Big dog status. That's a real OG, Tampa OG.
All right, Lillian, thank you.
Lieutenant Dan, check it out.
In just a bit. You can almost
I hope he's
hear-
okay.
I'm not sure if that was the generator, but there's like some kind of howling, and I'm getting text messages from so many friends who lost power, and they're asking me what's happening. And I think the sound of these winds when you lose power can be very frightening, especially if you're starting to get a lot of reports of damage coming in. We're going to start seeing more videos come in, more pictures. Obviously, we saw the Tropicana field. We're hearing about a crane that possibly collapsed. So obviously, it's starting to come in. We're starting to see a lot of the damage, and we just thank you for being with us as you're here. If you can hear our voices, we are streaming on several of our radio stations as well. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move now to our southern counties and move now to Manatee County and Palmetto.
It did hit
Arcadia Little Brown joins us live now in Palmetto.
a little weaker than what people expected because that Cat 5 was around for a hot minute. So we're really blessed that it didn't hit as a Cat 5, a strong Cat 4. It did get weakened before landfall, which is a very good thing. Still a lot of damage, still a lot of dangerous situations going on, but a stronger landfall would have been even worse than what it currently is. Shout out to DeSantis getting the debris out around the clock. That definitely helped a lot of areas. Little things matter in this type of situation. It all adds up.
And nor does it appear that everybody in the neighborhood where we're at here in Palmetto has power as well. On a good note, I have been sort of peeking across the street because there are 2 shelters housing more than 1,000 people each just up the street from us, and I am sort of peeking through the trees, and I do see some lights on there, so that's good for them.
There are trees down, very high wind. Some places are going to get flooded out, especially around South Tampa area. Clearwater, St. Pete, Fort Myers, definitely be flooding all up on that coast. Very unfortunate, but Florida's strong. We've been through it. We know how to repair. We know how to get back up the next day and just get to it. Like New Yorkers, you know what I mean? We're going to hustle through it.
It just went off and it hasn't come back. In fact, for a while we were sort of locked in the house. This is the garage door, and it served us very well all throughout the evening. It's kind of been like serving as a barrier for us from just the gusts of wind that have been pretty ferocious at times throughout the evening. We had a tough time getting that up because the wind was blowing up against it, and so even the emergency string was tough to pull because of that wind. And so we've got this thing up. We've got a little makeshift, holding a little shovel there to help us keep that up. But essentially what we're dealing with right now in Palmetto is just this relentless wind and rain, and I'm just waiting for it to end. I know I spoke with one of the producers earlier and said, hey, let's talk to the meteorologist. What's happening in Palmetto? Because this wind and rain just seems to be so ferocious and not letting up. And about an hour and a half or so ago,
Ferocious.
they said, yeah, this is going to go on
It
for
is strong.
another 2
Don't
hours.
be outside.
So we're kind of getting used to it at this point. I can tell you that I have been staying in touch with a couple officials in the city of Palmetto, the police chief, and he had mentioned that at this point, of course, they have been off the roads. They've been off the roads for a while now because of conditions. But he tells me that they, thus far at least, have not received any calls for any kind of rescue.
Power went out in my other live.
There's just a lot going on.
Yeah, prayers for Florida, straight up.
If that's truly
And prayers for Lieutenant Dan and his boat. I hope he's okay.
Being able to get in touch with emergency officials, and certainly we know that at this point, we're not sure when they're going to end up getting back on the road, but it's just too dangerous for any kind of emergency officials here in Palmetto and in Manatee County and surrounding counties to get out there and help people. But he also mentioned that they are expecting to see a lot of damage and destruction because of this wind. Of course, once daylight comes, they will, if they determine it's safe to get out there, they will get out there. Their crews will get out there. They will be driving around, assessing damage, assessing any kind of need for help. But at this point, we're all still hunkered down. And many of us, not only here in Palmetto and Manatee County, but across the Tampa Bay area, we're hunkered down in blackness. I mean, this is basically what we look like, just as so many of you look like in all different parts of Tampa Bay. This is the inside. I know my photographer, Matt, can only go so far, but we're in total blackness. We're actually leaving the door open because one thing that is coming with this wind is there's a nice little chilly there. So we're trying to kind of cool down the house a little bit before it gets too hot, because we just don't know how long this power is going to be out for. But of course, we suspect it's going to be a while before any kind of electricity gets back up and running here in Palmetto. Guys?
Thank you. We want to take new video right away. Just in tonight, it shows the wind and rain from Hurricane Milton in New Tampa. The power is apparently still on right now, and the wind is whipping that rain around. Again, this is in New Tampa, where, like we've seen in other parts of Tampa Bay, the rain is practically coming in sideways. And it's not just in Tampa, really. We've seen it in many of our other counties as well. And we're continuing to check on conditions all across the Bay Area, including in Hillsborough County.
It might sound backwards, but it seems like we're getting even worse of the storm here. Ruda Olsonida is now joining us live from Tampa. Ruda, what are you seeing out there? Are conditions getting worse?
Yeah, good evening, you guys. Well, I don't know if you can tell by the rain or by the winds that I have picked up, but we are really in the thick of it here in West Tampa. Now the community, they have done their part to try to board up their windows, prepare for this storm. They've seen what Helene has done to this community, but Right behind me there's some signs that are waving back and forth, hanging on by a thread. We're seeing some flashes. That, of course, is those transformers going off. But kind of surprisingly, we still have power here. The business behind me, I can't say the same for them. We were just live there about an hour ago, and all the lights were on. We used it as a light source. Now all the lights are gone here. We've come to a safer location here near our home. We're under a cover. We're safe here, and you know, this community has really heeded the warnings. I haven't seen a car out on the roads for a couple of hours now, of course, following the recommendations of officials, and people really haven't been outside either. There were a few people with some umbrellas, some rain boots, looking like they were packing some things perhaps, but now everyone's hunkered down inside. And I don't know if you can tell, but the flashing of the power, it's going in and out, and we just keep on saying, you know, hang in there. We need all the power we can get. Just like a few of the other reporters, we're keeping that AC on as long as we can. We know this storm is unexpected, right? We thought the power would already be out by now. We thought maybe the rain would maybe subside by now, but this storm has a mind of its own, and here the Tampa community is rallying together. We've seen neighbors, you know, helping neighbors. The wind, though, that's really the story here. That really hasn't let up, and you can't see it because it's a little bit further down, but there's a utility pole that's doing a little bit of an angle lean, and we've heard some explosions from inside the home, so we don't know if those are the transformers from that exact utility pole, but it's a mess here. And on the ground, there's a lot of debris, and then the wind is taking it to other areas. The street was pretty clear. There were piles of debris here earlier after Helene, but I'm sure it might be a different story for this community as they now have to pick up the pieces. What a rough couple days, right? I mean, we were just on Davis Island talking to some of the folks there. They said they had up to 4 inches of water, and unfortunately, the night is young. So they're worried. They were piling up sandbags of what might happen here with Milton, taking every precaution they possibly can. But we just want to make sure that you're informed. So here in West Tampa, the wind's still a problem. Ripping off some of those business signs. That 7-Eleven we've been showing you that's been boarded up. Now those plywoods are really starting to come off here, so we go another gust of wind. It's coming right at my back here, and everyone's hanging on. We've got such an amazing crew. We've got photographers.
You guys heard that? Something fell.
I want to thank everybody that's
Appreciate it.
in these elements and
Mighty
And,
Martinez.
thank you for that report. We'll check in with you in a little bit. And we're continuing to check on conditions in Pinellas County, especially where the winds were really intensifying, but apparently now they've been lessening some. At least that's what we're hearing from ABC Action News reporter Kylie McGivern, showing us what conditions are like live from Seminole now. Kylie, how's it looking out there?
Introducing Salem's Fresh Eats, delighting taste buds for an impressive 35 years and still going strong. Order through Uber Eats and DoorDash for ultimate convenience. Your cravings satisfied at your doorstep. With 13 locations staying open late, your hunger curfew is officially canceled. Fancy a shrimp bowl? Look no further. We've got your seafood cravings covered. And hey, don't forget our convenient drive-thru for those on the go. Join us at Salem's Fresh Eats for taste and convenience needs, because great food knows no boundaries. Visit us today, order online, or call us now to order. Salem's Fresh Eats. You've got options.
Don't fall asleep.
Mandatory evacuation zone. So this is somewhere where a lot of places are boarded up. They decided to stay, but this is somewhere where, again, thankfully we have not seen anyone out on the road. So for now, with Millis County and Seminole, we will send it back to you guys.
Well, Kylie, I wanted to ask you a question because we know that you've covered, obviously we had Debbie and then Helene, and we saw you in flooding over on Bayshore with the storm surge. Talk about the difference between these storms when you're running from water and now you're telling people to hide from this wind. What's the difference for you out there?
I think the big difference here is, we've been talking about storm surge so much, and rightfully so, but where we're at right now, I mean, when I told some of my friends and family, hey, I'm going to be covering the storm from Pinellas County, they were like, wait, where? Where are you going? What? But when we had come to see where we would be staying at this home in this neighborhood, I'll tell you guys, we actually spoke with the homeowner who said, again, this is above the area that would flood. This is out of the evacuation zone. We've got a new roof on this place. We are boarded up where we are. And so the threat is just different.
area. And we're seeing some of the videos come in from other parts along our coast and everything. And even if we were to get closer to the water, I'm sure it would be a different story. But we're a bit further inland, so it was more some debris that we had seen on the side of the road when we're left from Helene in this area, and then trying to get that out of the way, of course, before this storm. And we can tell you, at least where we've been in this area, you know, a lot of it's been really picked up in a lot of homes. I mean, more than I expected, pleasantly surprised. No building that did have storm windows and such. And so that's what we're seeing in this particular area. I know you've checked in with different communities across the Tampa Bay region.
Kylie, and I have one more question for you. I know you were born and raised in the Bay Area. This is where your friends are. This is where your parents still are. And I'm wondering, since you've really ridden out this whole storm, you did Debbie, you did Helene. First of all, how are you doing? Because I know it has to be an emotional toll that it takes when someone who's born and raised here. But also, more importantly, how do you feel in regards to seeing all these hurricanes growing up, none of them hitting here, and after 100 years now, here we are, probably one of the worst storms that the Bay Area has ever seen and maybe will ever see?
Yes, it's kind of surreal because it's like a big picture about, you know, I grew up having hurricane days in school where you got out of school, my mom would pick my sister and I up, we'd have to get everything up off of the floor and evacuate, and so, you know, it's basically a part of life as a Floridian, as so many of us know. Moving away and moving back to Florida in the last 6 years, it's one of those things where we've covered a lot of these storms. But to be honest with you, a lot of times we are going into other communities and we are talking with people who this is their home, this is their backyard, and of course, you know, we can relate to Floridians, our hearts go out to them, but this is, as a lot of us have been saying, it's even more personal. It became more real and more sobering, for lack of a better word, with Helene. And I think perhaps one silver lining of that, at least I personally know so many more people that evacuated for this storm than I think would have otherwise, because there's this sense of we'll be fine, and then realizing how vulnerable we are. So, you know, my parents are in Orlando right now, and my sister, I grew up along the coast in Tarpon. You know, again, like so many people, you live near the water, and then you realize you've got to get away from the water. And so, one of our photojournalists, Raymond Wright, was here, you know, his family in Moose, you're thinking you're further inland. This is a storm that for so many of us in different ways to call this area home, we have been concerned for different reasons. And so right now we're really talking about what are the coming days going to bring. As we get through this storm tonight, what is it going to look like when we get up tomorrow, and what communities are going to be heading to share their stories.
Very high winds.
About, you know, sharing the stories, giving you information, and being there with you every step of the way. So we're going to send it back to you guys.
All right, Kylie McGivern live for us. Again, so many of us have family and home here. We want to quickly go to new video now. We were talking about reports of a crane that collapsed. We now have video of it, and I'm not sure if we can take it. Once we do, I want you guys to look at the lights as the crane goes down, because St. Pete Fire Rescue does confirm that the crane did fall at a condo tower in downtown St. Pete.
Oh my
Watch it
goodness.
again. You're going to watch for the lights here.
They warned about it.
There it is. There it is. You saw it come down?
Wow.
Again, confirming from St. Pete Police and Fire Rescue that this crane has collapsed at a condo building at the 400 Central building construction site. Thankfully, at this point, no reports of anyone hurt right now. Of course, St. Pete Fire Rescue is asking you to
So
avoid this
blessed.
area. If you want to see it one more time, I think the video is going to be queued up.
Jeez.
You're going to look for a light, a big red flash there.
Oh my
I'm starting to get
goodness.
several. There it is. Several reports of this kind
Imagine
of
walking and that
First
happened.
responders will start conducting
Shit.
damage assessments when conditions allow. Obviously, those conditions don't allow right now. And in that
That wind
same
whipping
message,
still.
did confirm that the roof on Tropicana
12
Field
o'clock,
was off.
midnight.
That's where we're going to next, Eric.
Yeah, but
Very
I
high
also want to
winds.
mention too that they had already warned about the
Branches falling on the house.
The area with all the construction that's going on.
This is no joke.
With those high rises in many of our counties, especially.
If we get another one, shit.
But we do want
I'm out
to see
here.
Pinellas County and
obviously the southern area, because that's what's getting the brunt of our severe weather right now. And our ABC Action News reporter Eric
Shit, if we
Waxler
make it
has
through
been
this one.
in St. Pete, and you were there when nobody else was, when literally the roof at Tropicana Field ripped off
God willing.
because of the winds out there. Eric, tell us about it.
Yeah, unreal.
Tropicana's ripped up.
Downtown St. Petersburg. We'll talk about Tropicana Field in a second, but we're talking about
Wide open, the rain, the wind.
The city put out
The
warnings.
power's on. It's crazy.
There are 4 different construction sites with cranes that they were worried about. We've heard lots of noises tonight. Not sure what some of them were, but we did hear a loud crash that might have been, in fact, that crane. You see, we're looking at one of the cranes that is still standing, and hopefully it remains that way. But such a danger, such a concern for the people that live near any of those large cranes. So something definitely to be on the lookout for. And again, we were talking about it earlier, and we look again at an unbelievable site, Tropicana Field. I mean, one of the landmarks of the Tampa Bay area that has stood here since 1990. And we're seeing a large portion of the roof just shredded, just ripped off. As far as we can tell from our vantage point, there doesn't appear to be any damage to the structure. You still see the steel beams that all meet there at the apex, all still seem to be in place. But it just appears that large sections of the roof are gone. What happened to them, we're not exactly sure. You can still see remnants, of course, that are attached to the beams, but we're wondering what happened to the large sections and if they simply flew off into somebody's neighborhood. If that's happened, please let us know, or if they dropped down inside. Now, the number one thing we want to tell you is, as far as we know, according to St. Pete Fire Rescue, no one was injured in what happened here in Tropicana Field. We said earlier that it was being used as a staging area for so many first responders and electrical workers. We were told that all the cots that were inside the field that we'd seen those pictures of with thousands of cots on the field, that those were already gone. We're not exactly sure, but we're told that all of that staging was already gone. That was before the storm, a setup before the storm. So as far as we know, people were not in there sleeping as we feared at first when we first saw this. Because it was being used as a staging area, and again, we're not sure who was in the stadium when this happened. This is all hopefully information we'll get as soon as possible. We have not seen any emergency vehicles, no fire trucks, no ambulances around the stadium. I'm not seeing any flashing lights still, but what is amazing, you still see the lights inside the stadium are on. You see the purple lights. But Tropicana Field, the home of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Let me show y'all this storm, so y'all know this ain't cap.
Is in need of major repairs thanks to Hurricane Milton. The stadium again has stood here in St. Petersburg. You know, if you're not from the area, you might not remember the stadium was built before the Tampa Bay Rays existed. The stadium was built with the hopes of luring a baseball team to the Tampa St. Pete area. And early on, it was the Florida Suncoast Dome. I saw Guns N' Roses here in the early 90s, going way back. And of course, all of us, many of us, I'm sure, have been to countless Rays games and enjoyed that roof on these hot summer days or rainy days here. And now a big portion of that roof is gone. And but I don't know if you can hear it, but the flapping of the remaining pieces of the roof that are still attached. As these wind gusts, you can see them just flapping in the wind. On the east side of the stadium that we can't really see, but I do see pieces of it, pieces of the roof seem to be flapping up. So I cannot tell if there's also, now you know what, looking through the stadium I do see, it looks like that side has major rips as well in it. So
to focus on folks who need to know what's going on in terms of safety. And we, as I said, again, we still have a flash flood warning in effect for Pinellas County, for Pasco County, for Hillsborough, and for
Oh my
Cook
goodness,
County.
it ain't over.
And this area right now has seen rainfall way over 12 to 14 inches of rain. I mean, the flooding in itself.
11:52.
We have not
Still ain't
seen
over.
a lot of reports, guys.
Stay safe, y'all. Stay away from windows, glass.
I'm going to message the National Weather Service right now and see if they're getting anything, but we haven't gotten any reports from them at this point.
But what we are getting reports are, obviously, of all of the wind, 80, 90 mile an hour. We gusted over 100 miles an hour in St. Pete, and potentially maybe that's when the roof went on the truck.
Supposed to board your windows up. Hope most of y'all did board your windows up. It's very important. So much debris out, so many trees, rocks, anything. Extremely high winds. Gotta board your windows up or put something, some type of protection in front of your window.
Obviously, when you get an offshore flow like we've had in these areas, that's a blessing. Because I cannot tell you how many times when there's been a hurricane or a tropical storm, and we've had an onshore flow. So what happens is the rain falls, and here's some of the totals: 9.5, 10 inches, Pasco, Hernando, Citrus County, close to a foot of rain, over a foot of rain in Hillsborough County. So it's all moving east, and we still have that very narrow and intense band of wind across the area as well. But like I was saying, when you have that onshore flow, the rain falls, and it has a tough time draining, and it floods. But because we have had an offshore flow, all the water, we drained the bay again. And so when you have all those places, this happened with Irma, as a matter of fact, the exact same thing.
Drained the bay.
We had a ton of rain, and we had no flooding with that rain. And I remember saying it was a blessing because, fortunately, that offshore flow allowed the water to quickly drain. Now, when you get rain at over 5 inches an hour, which is what we had in St. Pete, I believe that is an all-time record. I seem to remember this summer, we had a 1 hour, it might have been in Tampa, but we had a 1 hour rainfall of about 4.92 inches, and that was the all-time record rain. And that was with an afternoon thunderstorm. Remember that? I think it was September 7th, actually. So now we're looking at
Tampa Bay Lightning.
Winds are now down to 105 miles an hour, and it doesn't even look like a tropical system anymore.
Think they got that name by Quinkadink? I don't think so.
Kind of a nor'easter in a sense. So here's the latest: 105 east-northeast at 16. The pressure continues to rise as this weekend. Current gusts at the airport in Tampa right now, 82.
Look up lightning strikes in Tampa, Florida.
Right there is your
compared to everywhere else.
More generally, I think it's an 91. 51 Apollo Beach, 62 Monaco City, 76 hurricane-force winds still blowing right now in St. Pete. I got to take this out. Those surge numbers are not going to verify. I mean, we've talked about this for days on end. The Hurricane Center, there's going to be big surge, and already has been big surge, Sarasota southward. But it all boiled down to whether or not this storm went into the bay or got close enough to give an onshore flow, and fortunately, it never did. Yes, we will get on the backside.
No, y'all heard that.
Coming up, and there will still be some surge, but they're not going to be anywhere near the totals if that storm had been 30, 40 miles more to the north. Again, there it is, east-northeast 16. Looking just more like a blob than anything else, and the latest track as of 11 o'clock brings it across the state by tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., down to 80. Still technically a hurricane. They may even transition into a non-tropical system shortly thereafter. Jason, it looks like you got some pictures. Still looking. I mean, we're still hearing the creaking in here in the studio. By the way, did you notice that the news anchors, Wendy and Nadine, went into the safety of the other studio and they leave the weather guys out there to fend for ourselves? Did you notice that?
I know.
Yeah, bring up our mics. Yeah, bring them up. In fairness, when your boss tells you, for your safety, we're going to put you in another studio. We're having them bring up the mics because, you know, we give it right back to you. Yeah, it was for our safety.
You know who's important. You know who's important. Jason, what do you got?
Let's take it back outside right now. This is a live look from our station here on ABC Action News. Right across the street from Raymond James Stadium and Himes Avenue, in the middle of the heaviest of the rainfall, was a river. It was completely flooded, and with the wind, of course,
it's been around a while.
White caps on it, which you would see
I
out of
said,
Mexico.
not surprised. Though that stadium, old ass.
And this is pretty much everybody here from Manatee and Pinellas County.
Granny Stadium.
and then also
I hope
up to
everybody
Polk
okay, though.
County as well. I do want to do a little
They
bit
say
more
so
about
far,
today.
no
We should be
injuries.
getting a new
Hope
National
so.
Hurricane Center update at any point if this isn't the new one right now. Still 105-mile-per-hour winds. We haven't seen any gusts lately approaching 105 miles per hour, but we are still getting some areas with gusts easily 70 to 80 miles per hour. Lakeland, you've gusted to hurricane force at 76 miles per hour. So even as that center continues to move inland, it's still packing quite a punch. As we talked about this earlier today, if you joined our coverage 6-7 hours ago, I was talking about how the system was going to transition into what we call an extratropical cyclone. And you're going to hear about that as you watch the national media cover this over the next couple of days as it pulls away. And basically all it's doing is it's turning into what we would see more so in the mid-Atlantic or the northeast as we're getting later and later into the season. Of course, we got the cold front moving in. That will definitely help us out over the next few days with helping not allow temperatures to soar to record levels like we had just 2 weeks ago. Of course, after we left Helene, we had record high temperatures consistently, and there's the new update, so it's down to 100 now. So that's the very latest in here from the National Hurricane Center. So still centered at 100 miles per hour. Could see some gusts at that, but the inland gusts so far have been generally peaking between 70 and 80 miles per hour. So there's a look at what we're watching. There was the landfall point here at Siesta Key, and that center continues to move in. But what the problem has been is that while, yes, we saw significant wind around the center, it's been that northern eye wall that's moved through St. Pete, Tampa, Clearwater, and now over Lakeland, and that's what's unfortunately have produced 16 inches of rainfall in the city of St. Pete at Albert Limited Airport. Like Dennis said, over 5 inches of rain in 1 hour. Over a 3-hour period, over 9 inches of rain in 3 hours. And Greg, you were talking about this too. We're talking about some of us picking up months worth of rainfall here in 3 hours time, especially as our rainy season is winding down or about to transition back into the dry season. So watching this heavy rain finally start to abate quite a bit here for coastal areas, but our inland spots, you're still looking at significant rainfall here for you. Check this out. I just updated this. I'm about to post it to social media. These are the latest peak wind gusts that the National Weather Service has reported to us. Unofficial 105-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Anna Maria Island. That was from a storm spotter. I'm waiting for them to confirm that. But officially, 102 in Sarasota, the peak gust so far. We did have a 105-mile-per-hour gust confirmed at Egmont Pass, but that's over open water. That's a maritime gust, not a land gust. St. Pete, 101 miles per hour, so certainly not shocking to see the trough in the condition that it is right now when we've had gusts over 100. Tampa closing in on 100. We peaked at 97 miles per hour here at Tampa International Airport so far. Venice holding at 90 from earlier today, and we're looking at Clearwater Beach up here 60. We topped out at 90 miles per hour as well. So no surprise, we have almost 2 million Floridians without power right now. If you're watching us from our streaming app on your phone, thank you for continuing to watch our
power went out a couple times. Thankful it's back on.
Before some of us get power back, of course, after Helene and Pinellas County, it took quite a bit of time.
Clearwater, it might be out for a minute. Could be looking at a week.
So this is what we're going to be dealing with here for the next 5, 7, 14 days.
Sarasota, could be looking at a week. Hope not.
Seeing out there and power line damage as we go not only
Gotta prepare for
possibly 2 weeks, but like I mentioned,
the worst, hope for the best.
We're not going to see excessive heat behind.
Work directly with T. Rowe Price, and together we can find the right investments to help her.
There's all the warnings, and we still have the flash flood warning ongoing here for all these areas and kind of this
crazy out there, man.
Light brown color, and then we continue to see flood warnings outside of this as well. So pretty much everybody from Manatee North.
12 o'clock, still high winds.
As we've seen, of course, all that excessive rainfall. I'm going to take the warnings off, and we're going to start doing a little bit of a radar tour here. We'll start in the center where it's currently at, and that's over Polk County, south of I-4. It's moving across Lake Wales right now. North of Frostproof, Bartow, it's moving
October 10th, 2024.
But again, it's not what it was as it was coming on shore with those 115,
12 a.m.
mile per hour winds, but still seeing gusts in late
October 10th, 2024.
So extremely heavy rainfall continues.
Tampa, Florida,
possible
United States of America.
North of I-4, so from Dixonia and Kathleen, north of Lakeland now, over to Polk City and heading up for the Poinciana area here on I-4 before we get to the Orlando Metro. That's where we're looking at extremely heavy rainfall currently. Let's go back a little more to the west here in south where landfall was. Still some light rain. For the most part, it's light at this point, but we are looking at extremely gusty winds still. With Sarasota still gusting over 70 miles per hour, even though the storm center is pulling farther and farther away and heading inland. North up to Bradenton, still looking at some extremely heavy rainfall. Notice the general movement of the rain, though, and this is important, like Dennis was pointing out as far as surge goes. We've got the winds coming in like this. So we're not seeing a perpendicular push of that water at the coast, which would increase the surge potential here behind the system as our winds are turning more onshore. And once we start to get more back to that perpendicular flow by tomorrow morning, into the early afternoon, I should say this morning, now that it's past midnight, that's when we could see a little bit of water rise, but the system too far away for us to have those 6, 9, 12, 15-foot surge values that the National Hurricane Center was giving us as those worst case scenarios. So with that being said, a little bit of water rise, not out of the question, but it doesn't look like we're going to see significant water rise. Ruskin. So there's what it looks like in Pinellas County. Lighter rain, but still very strong winds. Winds continue to gust at over 60 miles per hour. In fact, when we take a peek and see it, even news popped up as far as these gusts go. And it is, so still gusting at Tampa Executive Airport at 65 miles per hour. Lakeland at 60. Punta Gorda still gusting at 71. That's pretty impressive, even it's so far away. Sebring, you're gusting to 67, so nearing the center here in Sebring in southern Polk County, getting into northern Highlands. And then within the last 25 minutes, reported 93 mile per hour gusts in St. Petersburg. So still extremely strong winds coming in behind the system. And Dennis talked about this, how the system kind of transitions. You get this jet that happens that continues to increase the winds on the backside of the system. So I haven't gotten one of those reports in 25 minutes, but still within the last half hour, 94, 91 mile per hour gusts in St. Peter's, 93 mile per hour gusts in St. Pete. So now a little more to the east here in downtown Tampa. Again, the damage has been done. Even though we're not getting reports of flooding from the National Weather Service, we know it's happening, but nobody's out in the streets right now. Everybody's been preparing for this hurricane for 3 days now. And a lot of the areas, of course, in Zone A and B, where we're seeing this freshwater flooding happening, they evacuated. So we're not getting the first responders out there doing rescues because hopefully everybody has been in their safe place or they've evacuated. Now, north here in Pasco County, you're still looking at some really heavy rainfall here along 98 and 301 east of 75. Once you get west, still, of course, seeing some very strong gusts here as well. And north up through places like Brooksville, we've had successive gusts here in Brooksville over 76 miles per hour. So even our northern spots, well removed away from the center as it was coming on shore near Siesta Key earlier this evening, or last night. We were still looking at some very strong wind gusts here as well. The power outages are numerous here for the Nature Coast, too. They're not as extreme as areas down to the south. In fact, some of those numbers almost up to 300,000 at last check here in Pinellas County. Let me take a peek at what it says now. 400,000 just in Pinellas County without power. In Hillsborough County, 325,000, and then north, 131,000 in Pasco County without, and 53,000 customers in Hernando, 33,000 in Citrus County. Now down south in Manatee, 201,000 customers without power, 226,000 without power in Sarasota, and 93,000 without power in Polk County.
Just when you look at the percentages here, some of these counties, 70, 80, it looks like 75, 80% of the county.
And Hardy County, almost 100%.
Almost 100%. So when we talked about these are going to be long duration outages, in some of these places, there could be places that don't have power for a week or two.
Yeah, at a minimum a week or two. And unfortunately in places like St. Pete, like I said a second ago, we just saw that even though Pinellas County is our second most populated county here, so obviously more resources going into those hurricane force gusts that we're seeing out there right now. So let me show you a couple of other things. I'm going to skip ahead here through a couple of other graphics. This is what I wanted to show you too. So Greg, you posted this map earlier. It updates automatically by itself, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the updated ones.
So I can tell you the numbers that I see have changed.
Yeah.
Those Lakeland numbers, that was not a double-digit number last time I showed that. So the numbers in St. Pete and Pinellas kind of slow down.
Yeah.
But the numbers up in Polk County really have gone.
So that's what we're really seeing the center with that heavy rain band I showed you on the radar now setting up here along and north of I-4. And this is unfortunately what we expected. We talked about this leading up to it, that somewhere on the north side, depending on where the center moves on shore, that northern eye wall, as it's transitioning to that weird extratropical cyclone thing that I talked about a minute ago, that's what happens in these storm systems, is that the northern eye wall, just the convection that develops in these areas, the showers, the thunderstorms that blow up, can be more extensive than a pretty strong hurricane coming in when it's transitioning into these non-tropical systems. And that's what happens tonight. And unfortunately, it's set up right over top of us here in Pinellas, Hillsborough. I was looking at the rain gauges, the rain estimates at my house in Hillsborough County, and I've got a foot of rain at my house. Haven't heard from my neighbors in a while, so Ben, Josh, if you're watching, they've been the ones taking care of and checking the house for me. Let me know. We've got a retention pond in the back of my house that hopefully floods the other way and not toward my house. But this is what a lot of us are dealing with too. And we can't even get out right now and assess what flooding damage is out there or what your neighborhoods look like, because people are still looking at gusts that are over 60, 70 miles per hour. It's just too dangerous with the potential for some flying debris out there. So yeah, anywhere from 12 to 14 to 16 inches of rain through all of Pinellas County. The extreme northern spot of Pinellas County here, Tarpon Springs, a little less. But down towards St. Pete, again, an actual measurement at Albert Whitted showing that, yes, we are looking at more than 16 inches of rain here in downtown St. Pete. Tampa at the airport, I haven't looked at the actual airport observation yet. Let me see if I can do a quick calculation here in my head. Looks like Tampa is not reporting anymore, so we may have lost the observation site here with these 97, 100 mile per hour wind gusts. Quick adding up numbers in my head, it looks like Tampa's over 10 inches as well. So yeah, Hillsborough County is seeing over 10 inches of rainfall too. And we're looking at over 14 inches of rain, like Greg said, now showing up in sections of northern Polk County. So I'll widen this out a little bit. These numbers will go away, and you can clearly see what we were talking about, how that northern eye wall, as this transition is happening, it just blew up with showers and thunderstorms. I'm curious to see what it looks like offshore, though, with these numbers here in this gray, 15 to 16. So thankfully, that more widespread area, 15 to 16 inches of rain, didn't show up. So that's another thing we're going to have to watch. Significant flooding. Again, we're not sure what's happening out there tonight because Seven in St. Pete, incredible to see these strong winds as the center is now moving into Polk County. You see that lighter shade of color there in Haines City and Lakeland, 51 and 59 miles per hour. That's the center. So you think those strongest winds would be there, but as this system is again transitioning to a non-tropical low pressure, that's what we're watching. That the backside of this system is looking at these winds really, really strong as well. Let me go and find our futurecast model and see if it is showing these winds lighting up here anytime soon. Forgive me, my weather show is a complete mess right now because
We are now in a very sheltered position. 3 sides of the vehicle sheltered by concrete. It's a substantial building where we are. But when we were driving here, we saw down trees and tree limbs and things of that nature. And then, you know, that's also why I've now moved inside of the vehicle, because I was standing out on Davis Boulevard there for a while. And you know, I have some experience in doing this, and so I always look above me. You know, is there a tree branch above me? You don't want to stand under trees. You don't want to stand under power lines. You don't want to stand under any large signs. There's also some construction cranes in this area. You have to make sure that you're not in a place where something like that can fall on top of you. So there's a lot to be
Yeah, so I can't be
cognizant of
outside. That's
as
crazy.
you're setting up to do these live shots, and you're looking around to maximize your safety.
Bunker down to calm down.
But again, you know, 100-mile-an-hour wind, something can blow from way far down. Your eyes around to make sure that you're safe as possible. But at this time, that's why I'm sitting inside the car.
All right, so Jeff, on a scale really quickly before we let you go, anything else to note? And also too, I suppose I should ask you because, you know, we saw you out in the elements getting hit by that rain right there, and you know, talking
right
to
there
Keith and Stacy and doing the live shots for News Channel 8. How do you look so dry? I mean, I understand that towels are a thing, but Jeff, I would imagine that you would be soaked head to toe given all the live reporting that you've done out there so far.
So I guess this is where the experience factor comes in. Let me just kind of give you a little demonstration, if you will. If you notice behind me, I've got the contractor cleanup bag here on the seat covers, because one thing I have learned over time is though you can protect the vehicle as much as you want to. However, getting into the vehicle and out of the vehicle and the rain suit is soaked. So I put these over the seats so that, you know, we don't soak the car seats, so that we don't smell mildew for the next 3 months as we're driving around in the news car. The other thing is, you know, we do have a lot of towels out here. Photographer Joey Capistrand and I, here, show him your towel, I'll show him my towel. So we have a lot of towels in the car to try to keep as dry as possible, keep the gear as dry as possible, so that the boss doesn't get mad at us too much for getting his expensive camera equipment wet.
Well, Jeff, you look so dry there with that rain jacket on that you look like you just walked out of a Bass Pro Shops. I mean, kudos to you and Joey for doing extraordinary work out there. Any final word before we let you go?
No, I know that tomorrow when we get out, JB, and we can drive around, we will see some catastrophic damage from this storm. It has been big, it has been intense, it has been going on for hour after hour after hour. A lot of our friends, people that we know, have no doubt suffered damage. And many of them are just getting over Hurricane Helene. This has been psychologically crushing for a lot of people. I could sense it talking to my friends today before I came into work and just getting out there. And so I know a lot of people have gone through damage. I you know, went out with, I'll just go ahead and, you know, drop my Rough Rider name again. I went out with some of my Rough Rider buddies this weekend, and we shoveled a lot of sand from somebody's house who lived out on the beach. And there was so much sand, and we worked so hard for several hours, and it barely felt like we put a dent in it. So here we are just now recovering from Hurricane Helene.
Strong winds.
And we get hit by Milton. And
you have power. And, well, interestingly enough, a majority of our poll respondents, Justin, are not in the storm's path. Because I gave 3 options. Yes, I'm in the storm's path. Yes, I have power. No, I don't have power, and I'm in the storm's path. Or option 3, I'm not in the storm's path. So 57% of our audience right now says that they are watching and they are not in the impact area for Hurricane Milton. But 17%, so about a fifth of our audience roughly that are watching our coverage right now without power. And so, guys, we really hope that you get back power. We have updates on WFLA.com about power outages, all the information that we're hearing from local power companies. But I should note that their priority right now isn't communicating out when things are going to get back up online because it's so difficult to pinpoint. They just know that when the storm rolls out, an effective strategy will be put into place, and that's when really rolling power restorations, if you will be started to be felt across the area. And so yeah, seeing people, shout out where you do or do not have power from. If you're in Florida, let us know in the comment section. But that's things right now. We got to get ready for a hit on WFLA News Channel 8. All right, so coming up next, stand by, folks. We're sending you back to News Channel 8 and getting ready. Put in your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJustin comments right now. We're about to take them live on WFLA News Channel 8. Again, the live Q&A segment coming up next.
There. At this point, our temperatures are working into the low to mid 80s. And then it's on Thursday night, things get actually cool quickly. It might be like light jacket weather out there after sunset because we've still got kind of gusty winds and temperatures are on their way down into the 60s. So for those of us without power, which looks likely for most of us, it's windows open weather as we head into the weekend and start that cleanup.
Yeah, but you don't want to open those windows too soon because right now, well, it just knocked everything over. You can hear the wind in this concrete structure that we're in.
Box that we are in.
Yeah, unbelievable. So you've got all kinds of storm surges happening to the south of us. You've got rain pouring in Pinellas and in
Concrete
Pasco.
box.
It's just, there's not a part of the Bay Area and our greater viewing area that is not taking a hit from Milton.
Yeah, and Milton's creating problems for officials in Pinellas County, specifically in St. Petersburg. News Channel 8's Palacero joins us live in studio with an update. Man, it's Katie bar the door over there right now.
Oh my gosh, a lot of problems happening in St. Pete. We've seen the damage those strong winds have caused throughout the Bay Area, but the impact in St. Pete, as you guys were saying, has been massive. Here are 3 things you need to know that happened in St. Pete as a result of Milton. So first, just look at this shocking video, which shows the roof of Tropicana Field, of course, the home of the Tampa Bay Rays, peeling back. The wind gusts, those strong wind gusts from Hurricane Milton tore multiple panels off the roof there. Next, the city of St. Pete also confirmed a crane collapsed onto an office building downtown. Well, this one was near 400 Central Avenue. Now, no injuries have been reported due to either incident. I know I was telling you guys earlier today that officials were concerned about these cranes, but crews are not able to lower and secure these cranes because it takes weeks of planning and couldn't be done with the storm's time frame. And your third headline out of St. Pete, the city is responding to a major water main break. They say this will impact potable water services across the entire city. And as a result, the city already shut off potable water service citywide. That happened at midnight, so just about 25 minutes ago. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, pal. And of course, we've been talking about the power outages. I don't know, what is it, 2 million?
Yeah, 2 million.
And it's going up there in Pasco County, among the many counties dealing with that.
Yeah, we want to go to News Channel 8's Josh Benson. He has been up in our Westlake Chapel location, and you're out there. The only light that is on you right now is a light created by our cameras and our equipment. The power is out there, right?
Yeah, and that's a great observation because we did have some light from the parking lot, but literally 45 seconds ago, the lights went out in the parking lot. So this is kind of an eerie feeling
knowing that, first of all, this hotel has an amazing generator, kicked right on, and it has been supplying lights through the hallways. I'm up on the 5th floor, walking through the hallway, there's light. Once you get into your room, it's pitch black and about 80 degrees. But that's the challenge some of these people at this hotel are going to face tonight now, is just trying to see if they can get any sleep. It's going to get very warm very quickly. But again, we're lucky enough to have power somewhat here, at least some lights. There's no outlet power. You have to have a charger for your cell phone. And we are on some battery power from our photojournalist here, who's actually, Jamie came prepared and has enough juice to get us through some of these live shots. As you know, we did have the studio up and running, and that was a challenge throughout the night just to keep that going, because outside we'd hear the pops and the pops. Every time it popped, we had to restart Wi-Fi, had to restart all those connections. So just some of the observations for being in a hotel up here in Wesley Chapel at the Hyatt Place, pretty incredible, but very lucky for us up here and for the evacuees who are here. So we can chat back and forth because I can hear you, so that's at least a good start.
That is a bonus. Do you have a sense of how many evacuees are there at that hotel right now?
Well, I can tell you my wife actually reached out when we tried to figure out where to send my wife and kids, reached out to this hotel at one point, and they were totally packed, sold out. Matter of fact, so I think all the rooms are taken up here. There was a few extra ones for the crew, so we were lucky enough to get a spot here. But we saw that lobby out there tonight pretty full with little kids, you know, where there were some dogs running around, but people were in great spirits. Now, what's nice about that, when you're with a group, you can kind of share in the stress and try to, and there's a bar there too, which obviously helped for a lot of people. But you could knock that stress down by being in a group of people and kind of go through that storm together. I know a lot of you out there may be listening on the radio right now because you've lost power, you don't have a TV, you can't watch what we're saying or watch what we're doing. That is a lonely feeling, especially if you're by yourself or just 2 or 3 of you and having to figure out how to weather this storm. It's loud, as you know. You guys can still hear it in downtown. I gotta say though, it has calmed down up here in Wesley Chapel. We'll say the sustained winds are a lot lower than they were about an hour ago. You'll get a big burst that comes through here, but overall the sustained winds have chilled out quite dramatically. So I think if you're listening and you're watching us, know that this thing is moving pretty fast already through Lakeland or getting that direction. So it's almost over. So just hang in there as much as you can. Try to hold out some hope and just let's get to daylight.
Yeah, I know you're going to get a chance to go in daylight when this is all over and take a look around, because there's a lot of new development in and around Wesley Chapel. I lived there many years ago, and every time I drive up there, I can't believe there's another neighborhood. It's
explosion.
Yes, and with all of the businesses, car dealerships. I mean, there's just so much around you, Josh. So tomorrow, I mean, hopefully there's not as much damage as there might be.
You know, it's eerie too. We were sitting in here, there's kind of a little area where the crew can sit looking outside. One of our station vehicles is just outside behind these doors. And it wasn't that long ago there. You can take a look at it. It's actually right there. I was sitting there watching during the last live hit, and a gust of wind came and pushed that vehicle. I thought it was in neutral. I thought it was moving forward. It just pushed it to give that leeway to show the force of wind can actually move that car a little bit. I'm like, this thing isn't over yet. So these gusts are still very strong, super dangerous out there if you're going to try it. It's too dangerous at this point to leave or try to make your way around. But as you said, Keith, once daylight shines, it's not going to be a good sight.
Get that emergency brake on, by the way. I know there's a gap between that park and drive. Emergency brake.
Yeah.
You don't want any move.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Now, if it was for you, you know, a Chevy might give a little more room to
start with me.
into that battle.
Don't start with me.
Too soon, fellas. Too soon.
Start.
All right. Thank you, Josh, very much. We'll check back with you later. Well, as Milton starts to sort of dissipate in some of our areas, many of you have questions about the storm. How long is it going to last? What's next? And it's making its way across the state as we speak.
Yeah, it's moving along, but still a lot of people with a lot of questions. You know, what comes next, especially these questions on the WFLA Now live stream. And let's go to J.D. Buno. He's up there, and he has meteorologist Justin Mosley with him as well.
Yeah, and Jen, I heard you mention there, one of the questions people are asking is how long is this going to last? And I think I speak for not just our live stream commenters, but probably people watching your broadcast at the WFLA News Channel 8. We want Milton out of here. We're ready for this storm, the back end of this storm, to vacate the area. And let's get to some of the comments that are coming in on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Net wants to know, #AJB. This is for Justin Mosley, WSNN Chief Meteorologist here in the Stream Center. Been asking all night, when will Tampa be out of the worst of this, Justin?
Well, things are beginning to kind of settle back to a degree. I'm cautious with that. Looking at the latest wind report at the top of the hour, or just before we get this number, we have sustained winds at Tampa International, 47 miles per hour, gusting to 78. That's down from the 93-mile-an-hour wind gust. So we're headed in the right direction. And a lot of this is associated with the heavy amounts of rain that we've been dealing with. The heavy rain brings those stronger winds aloft down to the surface in a quick burst of wind, or a gust that we call it. And we can see that the core of the storm continues to steadily march off to the east in Polk County. So this is a slow process, but indeed we are headed in the right direction for the winds slowly coming down here in Tampa.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of questions coming in from really across the viewing area, but we have a bunch coming in right now at this very moment, specifically about Polk County. Let's go to, we gotta love the YouTube usernames, right? The Florida Man, #6 for us both. What is the timeline for Lakeland near the airport? Also chiming in, giving us some feedback, saying it's really bad there right now. And then Familia Rivera commenting as well. They're saying that they're joining us from Lakeland, no power there, and Windy Lake has come out behind our yard and they can barely see anything there in the Lakeland area.
Yeah, it's a rough go of it in Polk County, Lakeland area. And the report that we get is from Lakeland Linder Airport. And looking at that right now, 36-mile-per-hour sustained wind gusting to 64 miles per hour. Now, you are closer to the core of the storm. You're still caught in the ragged eye wall at this point in time as the storm is progressing to the east and northeast towards the Orlando area. But there in Lakeland, around Winter Haven, south of I-4 there, very strong winds, heavy rains keeping up, and yeah, not a good situation because of that proximity to the core of the storm at this point in time.
You know what's one question that we've been getting a lot tonight, and Keith and Jen, this has been a talking point in our comment section. Interestingly enough, is this from Glenda? Hey JB, I'm in Plant City. Winds very strong there right now. Tree branches flying, no power. Why do these hurricanes always come at night? We've been talking about this, Justin. Is there a scientific reason whatsoever that a storm makes landfall more at night than during the day? Because that's what it's felt like in recent hurricane seasons.
I've had this question for many years that I've been forecasting here on the west coast of the state, and that's just seemingly the way it's worked out so many times. We have had some storms be daylight storms, but for the most part, unfortunately, they do seem to hit our area at night. So it makes it that much more eerie, a lot scarier situation where you can't look out and know what's coming. I just took a moment ago to look out of our WFLA studios because we're here locked in this bunker doing the broadcast, but it really is sobering to see the winds and to hear the rain pelting our building and to see the Hillsborough River draining out, excuse me, my mic here, with these strong winds that are just refuse to abate in any great fashion at this point in time.
Yeah, so Glenda was mentioning that tree branches are flying right now. We talked about that with Jeff Patterson on the live stream a short time ago, and that brings us to this video here from WFLA.com/reported. It comes in from Mary, says this is the place at Channelside, and the comment that was shared in the WFLA.com/reported submission is awnings blowing off apartment building, District Tavern on 12th Street in Channelside. And so this is an awning that might look relatively harmless from a distance, but all it takes is a little bit of that piping coming out of that awning. It becomes a projectile, and then all of a sudden you have a significant hazard in this particular area.
Correct. If you're out in this trying to, get an idea of what's going on and that, you encounter that, it'd be a catastrophe. So that's why we're encouraging everyone listening to our broadcast to continue to shelter in place. This is not over. It'll be a slow process for the winds to come down and the rain to lessen. But again, things are very bad for our viewers and listeners here in